Crypto Spot. It's the poor man's jackpot. You win with the bots, you get shot. Now available in paperback and e-readers. Spinsterella Goth Girl Summer. Take a trip into the macabre world of goth modeling in the new millennium in this spooktacular Spinsterella story. Pick up your copy of Spinsterella Goth Girl Summer in paperback and e-readers at Amazon.com and online booksellers everywhere. I was watching a couple of Iron Can 3000 videos where he was talking about being burnt out regarding toy collecting. Now, as a guy who's been collecting toys for over 35 years, I could relate to Iron Can 3000 and the whole issue of being burnt out because I've been there myself and I understand that, when you have a toy collection, eventually you do reach a point where you just start to feel overwhelmed. Now, when it comes down to a lot of us toy collectors, a lot of us go out here, we want to have a lot of our toys on display. However, having a large amount of toys on display can sometimes have an impact on your mental health, and it have an impact on your mental health because you're in a room with a whole lot of collectibles and you really don't feel like you have a lot of space for yourself. This is something that I had to deal with when I was living at the previous apartment I was living in because the room I had was a whole lot smaller than the one I've got right now. And as I was living in that room and I was dealing with long-term unemployment, a lot of those toys basically were the thing that gave me hope as related to life. They basically were the thing that kept me going as God told me to keep going after I lost my job. And they were the thing that kept me motivated. However, it was really feeling like I was feeling overwhelmed by those toys sometimes. And I understand where that's coming from because, again, human beings, we're supposed to be living in a space and we need space to breathe. We really do need space to breathe. However, when it comes down to collecting, it can wind up where your toys wind up stop giving you joy whatsoever because you feel like you're being closed in by them. That's something that I know and I had to deal with back when around about 2013 and 2014 as I was still trying to get myself together. I was still trying to go out here and trying to find that next job, and I was also trying to go out here and write books for the SJS Direct Imprint, my business, and I was feeling really closed in by all the toys. And eventually what I started to do, because what I was reading, Dr. Robert Glover's No More Mr. Nice Guy, he was talking about, how you have to sacrifice something in order to get what you want. And that's when I started to move stuff that I really had no more use for. And that's what I'm advising Iron Can 3000 to do because, again, the toys do start to overwhelm you over time. And sometimes you just got to go out here and let stuff go in order to be able to, again, have the money to do the things that you really want to do in life and also be able to get some sort of peace and satisfaction as related to your personal space. In order to get some peace as related to your personal space, sometimes you got to let stuff go so that you can go out here and be able to get some sort of peace as related to your mental health. And this is something that a lot of collectors do as related to our collections. Sometimes we go out here and purge stuff. We purge stuff because we really, again, we don't want to have it overwhelming us anymore. And since we don't want to have it overwhelming us anymore, yeah, we've gotten our satisfaction, we've gotten our joy from those toys, and now we're no longer feeling satisfaction from them. So it's okay to just go out here and get rid of those toys if they're no longer, again, putting a smile on your face. No, if they're not putting a smile on your face, then it's okay to let them go. And it's okay to let stuff go, especially if it's being stored in places like bins or it's in a closet, because I had a lot of stuff basically in bins and in closets, and again, the stuff is not really doing anything for me anymore, and it's not doing anything for my satisfaction. So I went out here and I said, I want to go out here and do some other things. These toys basically are sitting here, so I'm going to start moving this stuff. And that's what I started to, again, move stuff on eBay. I started moving stuff as related to things because I wanted to raise the money to pay an artist to do the Isis Wrath of the Cyber Goddess cover. And I also started to feel a lot better as I started moving stuff, because as I was moving stuff, I was going out and going to the post office and taking stuff to the post office. And I was also feeling good because I was clearing out the clutter. And that's the thing that happens as related to toy collecting. It can create a lot of clutter in a little bit of time. And this is a cycle that happens to many collectors, because a lot of us, we collect because we like the characters and we like this stuff as related to how it makes us feel, but we're not seeing how it basically is impacting us long term as related to our mental health, because a lot of us, what we do is get into a cycle of going out here as we collect, trying to go out here and buy the updated version of a character. And as we go out here and try to buy these updated versions of characters, what happens is that stuff starts to pile up. And stuff also starts to pile up when we go out here and buy a lot of what they call army builder characters. We can wind up getting caught up in, again, looking to build that army as related to characters like Cobra Troopers or Hand Ninjas or Shield Agents or Hydra Agents. And we're thinking, oh, it's cool, we got an army, because a lot of us kids, we wanted to have an army back in the day, in the 80s and the 90s. We wanted to have that army of figures. Back in the day, we wanted to have that collection of figures, but because a lot of times we were poor, or sometimes our parents would be like, you're only going to get one, and we had to just get that one, and we had to make that choice. But now that we're making money and stuff, we would be like, okay, I'm going to buy these figures. But the whole thing is that a lot of us, as we're getting caught up in the euphoria of buying those toys, we don't ask that critical question, where are we going to put this right now? But the whole thing is that as we're not thinking about where we going to put it, we don't really see how this stuff starts to overwhelm us. And that's been something that's happened in the 2020s, as Hasbro has been coming out with a lot of figures at a faster pace. As a guy who's been collecting for over 30 years, I remember feeling the pace get a lot slower. Back in the mid-90s, when we had the 5-inch lines of Spider-Man, X-Men, Iron Man, Fantastic Four, many of the Marvel Universe lines, and Total Justice, the figures would basically come out in maybe 2-3 quarters. Even in the early days of Marvel Legends, before Hasbro took over, we really didn't get them cycling as fast as they do these days. And people had time to really think about what they wanted to collect, and they had to really think about, where they could go out here and allot space for stuff. But eventually what happens with a lot of us collectors is that as new versions come out, we have a lot of older versions, and again, eventually starts to overwhelm us. But what's been happening recently with Hasbro is that they have been releasing so much stuff that it just winds up where you want all these figures, but the whole thing is that you don't have the space to, again, have all this stuff, not only on display, but also have it in storage. And that starts to get to you over time, and that's what's been happening to me right now recently, that has me pulling back myself, because right now I've got most of the characters that I want with many lines like Marvel Legends, like lines like G.I. Joe Classified. I'm pretty much cool right now with what I got. I'm content with what I got as related to things. And I look at those lines and I say, okay, I've got all the characters that I want, and I can just, again, stop buying characters. Last year I bought Alpine, which is I believe to be my last classified as related to things. Now, I do want to get the retro Flint and the retro Cover Girl, but I'm not really, again, that hard up into it where I'm just like, keep buying these things. And with a lot of lines, I'm basically on the road to being basically done. This year I only bought maybe 3 figures, brand new, and as related to Marvel Legends, but I'm passing on a lot of stuff because I realize that there's more to life than figures. And again, if the toys ain't really making me happy, again, then it's just time to move on. It's just time to move on. And it's okay to move on because, again, your mental health is a lot more important. Your need for space is a lot more important because we do need space. We need space to breathe. We need space to relax. We need to have walls where there are no shelves, and we need to have space where there's room for us to think, because what happens with our space is that our space is a reflection of us. Our space is a reflection of who we are. And if your space is cluttered, that means that your mind is cluttered, and possibly your mind is stressed. And that's what happens to a lot of collectors. We wind up with creating a lot of clutter for ourselves, because in some cases we are basically getting stressed. And when you feel stressed, again, that's not a good thing. Again, that means that you're not finding satisfaction from what you're doing. And that's why it's okay to, again, let stuff go. Let stuff go as related to your collection. Let stuff go because, again, your peace of mind is worth more than anything. And again, it's okay to sacrifice things to get that peace of mind. That's what the advice I give to Iron Ken 3000. You know, if the toys ain't making you happy, it's okay to go out here and put them up on eBay and move on, because that's what a lot of collectors have done over the years. I have seen. I mean, I've seen people go out here and put up their Marvel Legends because they just want to, again, be able to breathe. I've seen people put up their lines of Transformers alternators. I've seen people put up their DC Universe classics, and again, they love the characters, but the whole thing is they love themselves enough to say, okay, I'm good right now. I'm good with what I've got if they want to keep some stuff, but I don't want to be, again, buried in stuff. Don't want to be just so buried in stuff and overwhelmed by it. Buried in stuff to the point where you can't really enjoy these figures. Again, a hobby is supposed to be something that allows you to relax. It's supposed to be something that allows you to enjoy things, but it's becoming a lot harder for us toy collectors to really enjoy things, because a lot of these corporate types basically all they're thinking about is profit, and they're not really thinking about people, and they're just thinking about rushing out as much product as they can without ever thinking about how that product relates to people. And that really is one of the things that really irritates me about toy collecting these days, is that, you know, Hasbro, I mean, this year basically released 45 figures in one quarter. The first quarter of this year, they released 45 figures, and there's no way a human being can just do that and buy just 45 Marvel Legends, and that's just Marvel Legends in and of themselves. I mean, you got 45 figures, and again, no collector can buy 45 figures of just one line, and many of us collectors, we buy more than one line. We also buy things like G.I. Joe Classified. We also buy things like McFarlane DC and WWE. And it reaches a point where you just start to say, hey, I got too many figures at this point, and I just need to stop right now. And that's where I believe a lot of collectors are. They're like, look, I like collecting, but this is getting ridiculous. And I recently just saw the live stream with the, you know, the Marvel Capcom, and I looked at that, I was like, okay, these are just repaints I can pass on. I don't need to keep buying these figures. I mean, yeah, I'll buy a one-of-a-kind thing like the Mezco Doc Savage. That's something that I believe, again, is a great figure, and again, relates to my hobby of comic collecting, and because Doc Savage is the first hero. But the whole thing is, it's okay to let stuff go if it's not, again, bringing you joy. And we don't really need to keep buying everything. That's what I'm doing right now. One of the things I said, as when I first started this whole hobby in '89, when my brother encouraged me to do it, was I basically said to myself, you know, I was going to put limits on stuff. I would buy the stuff that I liked, or I would take the stuff that I liked as gifts. But the whole thing is, I'm not going to try to go out here and do things like buy extra figures as related to things and buy figures I don't like. No, I'm not going to do that because they're on clearance, and if I don't need it, I'm not going to buy it. And I'm also, if I'm, again, have bought a version of a character and I've got a definitive version, I'm going to take the other one and, again, put it on eBay and move it on. And that's what I had to do with a lot of figures before I moved. I put a lot of stuff, I mean, I got rid of a lot of stuff. I sold my Total Justice, I sold my famous covers, I sold, again, a lot of 5-inch figures and Batman animated figures. I mean, I had a lot of stuff that I got rid of, and as I got rid of it, I wanted to, again, declutter, and it basically lead to, a more open space. And that's what you have to do. Again, a lot of guys do this, but the whole thing is, now that I've got what I wanted, I basically am at a point where I can just say, okay, I'm gonna leave these toys and pass on the pre-orders. I'm gonna leave them at at online shops. I'm not going to go out here and buy this because it's not something I need. No, I can go out here and invest in some other things, some other hobbies and interests. I mean, there are things that I would like to do as related to my whole publishing business that I'd like to, again, start investing in putting more art in the interiors of my books. And I could basically, again, put money on that as related to putting more art in the interiors and make them somewhat like a light novel, or work towards going out here and making another comic, because I always wanted to do this ISIS graphic novel, and I could start putting money on that. Or you can just go out here and save some money. I mean, that's also what you can do. I mean, I don't need the latest and the greatest toys. I mean, I've got some DC Universe classics as related to DC and DC Direct, and I'm pretty cool with that. So I basically, again, McFarlane came out with DC, but I passed on all of those, and they've come and gone because I figure, okay, I got what I want. I'm cool over there. And on the Marvel side, I'm starting to say, okay, I'm cool over here. All they do is make the same characters over and over again, like the Marvel Capcom figures. I mean, I don't really need those figures, and I can put my own efforts into something else. So when I watched Iron Can video, I could understand about the Burnout, because you constantly hear Hasbro doing live streams. You constantly hearing them constantly talking about new figures. But the whole thing is, you've got to ask yourself, okay, what am I good with? And if I'm good with stuff, okay, I can put a period at the end of things. I mean, I also did that with Voltron, because they came out with multiple Voltrons. I got the Solar Chigokin, and I'm like, I'm cool with Solar Chigokin. I got the Ruger, and I got the Gold Lion Solar Chigokin, so I'm cool with those. Now, they've come out with other ones like 3-0 Voltron. They've come out with the other one from that company, which cost $700, and I passed on both of those. And I'm also passed on the another small one, and I said, no, I'm good with what I got. I don't need to keep buying these toys. And again, it's all about what you enjoy, because it should be a hobby that you enjoy and not a chore. You're not obligated to buy everything. No, you're not obligated to buy everything. Now, sometimes I'll buy toys from indie companies, like when Loose Collector was coming out, because I knew him from the Foosh, and I said, you know, I want to support an indie company as related to their business. Same thing with Frazetta Girls. I'll buy something from an indie company because I like to support indie companies, and they make pretty good stuff. And that's where I'll do things here and there, but I'm not, again, feeling like, again, getting caught up, because I know how this toy collecting can be somewhat of an addiction. I know how it can be somewhat of an addiction, and you gotta, again, really, again, take your time and, again, think about what you're buying, because the whole thing is that you don't want to be overwhelmed by a hobby to the point where it becomes a chore. No, a hobby is just something that you do for fun, but it shouldn't be, again, consuming you to the point where you can't breathe. No, you should be able to breathe and relax and enjoy your space. And again, enjoy your space to a point where you can, again, enjoy life, and because God wants to give you an abundant life. But the whole thing is, you don't want an overabundance of figures basically taking up your space, and you don't want that. And again, you don't want to keep buying stuff because it's cheap. I mean, I'm okay with leaving it there. Now, when it comes to figures, I'm like, okay, if I don't need it anymore, I'll flip it and I'll move on. I mean, I don't want to go out here and have so much stuff that it's just overtaking me, because, again, a cluttered life is basically a cluttered mind, and you don't want to have clutter basically taking you over. No, you want to be in a place where you can have some peace. You want to be in a place where you can have your own personal space, and you want to be able to relax. That's what you want as related to your life, because, yeah, you're having fun investing in these toys as a hobby, just having some fun. But if it's not fun anymore, then it's okay to go move on, because you've got what you wanted out of it, and now it's time to go out here and pursue something else. And that's what I think is happening to many toy collectors. We're just basically at a point where we say, okay, I'm cool, I got what I want, now I want to do something else. And it's okay to say that you want to do something else or pursue something else, and you got the toys that you want. Again, it's okay to do that, but and okay to go on as related to things, because I've been doing this for over 35 years. And again, I got rid of a lot of my 80s stuff as related to things, because I wanted to do other things. And it was cool to, again, let that stuff go, let it go to other collectors or other people who are interested in it, or even, like in the case of my 5-inch figures and my animated figures, they went to some kids, I believe, because people went out here and bought them and enjoyed them. And that's all what toys are supposed to be all about, enjoying yourself. And if you're not enjoying yourself, then the hobby isn't worth it. So that's what I see things as related to the situation. I mean, it's okay to pass on stuff and move on because you're ready to go out here and you've grown as a person. And as you grow as a person, you're just like, okay, cool. I got what I wanted. I'm good with what I got. And if there's something maybe here or there, I can buy what I buy here and there. But I don't need to be, again, constantly pre-ordering waves and doing stuff, because that means that you're just doing things out of obligation, but not a love or a passion for what you're doing. Now, if you want to see me be able to, again, continue building my SJS Direct imprint, you can pick up those books in the SJS Direct universe, such as the ISIS series, the Esteem series, the John Haynes series, the Spinsterella series. You can find all those books on Amazon.com, and you're under no obligation to buy all the books. Just buy the ones that you like. That's all you can do. Again, if you want, you can find those books on Amazon in paperback and Kindle format. You can also find them in Draft Digital and Google Play. And if you want to check out my first full comic, John Haynes at Death's Door, it's available on Lulu.com. And it's also available, and you can pick up that book for the same price as the 2022 Kickstarter. And if you want to see me be able to continue making videos about toys and collecting, you can drop a donation to the Patreon, the PayPal, or the Cash App by clicking the link in the description box. That's all I have to say for this video. You can comment, rate, and subscribe. Now available in paperback and e-readers, John Haynes, A Thorn in My Side. The man who rules the world takes on an agent from the CIA, from the Black Boule, in this all-new John Haynes series adventure. Get your copy of John Haynes' A Thorn in My Side in paperback and e-readers at online booksellers everywhere. Now available in paperback and e-readers, Esteem Season of the Witch Girl. The aspiring angel takes on a wicked teenage witch in this action-packed, all-new Esteem series adventure. Pick up your copy of Esteem Season of the Witch Girl in paperback and e-readers at online booksellers today. Support Black-owned and Black-operated digital broadcast media. www.niceradionetwork.com. Nice Radio Network, broadcasting 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.